Hi and welcome. We are here at the Hexagon Theatre in Reading, where we're going to watch BBC's Strictly Come Dancing's favourite dancing couple, Kevin and Karen Clifton. But before we watch the show, we're going to go in and have a little chat with them, so let's go on in. Okay, welcome. I am recording here from Reading. I have the absolutely amazing Karen and Kevin Clifton, and you'll know these two from the amazing show BBC Strictly Come Dancing. So hi guys.
Hello. Hiya.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come chat to us. So we're here in Reading at the Hexagon Theatre and we're on your second last night of your show. How has the tour been for you so far, and have you had any favourite locations?
I think so far that the tour has been absolutely beyond expectations. It's been a kind of a dream for us for a few years now to put on our own show, and you sort of we have all these ideas about what we wanted to do, and then the producers weren't sure whether that was going to work or not, and it sort of goes backwards and forwards for a long time. Then you get to opening night and everything's a disaster in the dress rehearsal, and it's like, oh no, we've completely messed it up and it's all going to go wrong and everyone's going to die, and but then opening night ended up going really well, and then from then it just felt like we've been doing it forever, and the tour has actually gone way better than we expected. I think it's been a really good experience, hasn't it? We've been going about a month.
Yeah, about a month. I mean, the tour has been absolutely incredible, and I can't really pick a favorite place. I mean, they've all been absolutely brilliant. The feedback and the people have been so positive about it. You know, you never really know how it's gonna turn out, but it's been so nice to hear how you know, people have really enjoyed it. And to us that means the world, because, you know, we've been planning this for a couple of years now. So to have our little baby put out there and for people to welcome it with open arms it really is, it does feel like a little bit of a success for us.
Yeah, and Grimsby, obviously, being my hometown, was quite an important one for us. So Saturday night in Grimsby, that was probably my favourite one. Although Wimbledon as well, because we had a lot of important people coming to see the show, yeah. Friends and family, and like people from Strictly and stuff. So we were really nervous before that show. We really wanted that to go well, and it did. It was really good.
It's amazing to think, because you have such a high profile, that you guys are worried about people not coming. I mean, of course they're going to enjoy the show. It's fantastic. What was the process that you went through in deciding this is the show we want to do and this is how we're going to make it happen?
In terms of the process, originally we were sort of very inspired by watching like Matthew Bourne's shows, and obviously we're from a ballroom and Latin kind of background. Well, Karen's done a lot more sort of ballet and contemporary and all that sort of thing, but what we're doing, especially most of all at the moment, is ballroom and Latin. And there's not much in the ballroom and Latin world outside of sort of the competition world. And then if you're on Strictly Come Dancing, it's very much, you know, here's an evening with this couple from Strictly Come Dancing, and you know, a bit of a Q&A, you know, and a bit of dancing. But we were adamant from watching like Matthew Bourne shows that we wanted to have some kind of storyline. So originally we went in with a pitch of like a total storyline. We were all playing characters, and yeah, we weren't going to be ourselves. The producers weren't quite so keen on that idea. They were like, but we want to market it being you from Strictly, bringing the Strictly audience, and it sort of went backwards and forwards. We almost did it last year, and then it didn't happen because we weren't where we wanted to be with it. And then what we ended up doing is compromising. So it's Kevin and Karen from Strictly Come Dancing, but we decided to tell our story of how we sort of got into dancing, our dance careers, and then how we met, fell in love, and got onto Strictly, and ended up getting married. And it's so we go on this journey of like it's our own story, and that's sort of how it came about. So it's sort of part Strictly an evening with, it's part storylined ballet, you know, narrative dance, it's part cabaret, part concert sort of a show. I wouldn't know how to describe it really.
I mean, I guess you get a little bit of everything. But you know, getting it together was really special for us, because we were working with Jason Gilkinson, who also works with us on Strictly, and we've worked with him in Burn the Floor, and he choreographed and directed the show with us. And I mean, it was very special working with him because he knows our story and he was there since day one. And if anything, it was because of him that we kind of met. But you know, we got together with him and we picked out the songs and costumes, and obviously he choreographed, you know, this brilliant show. And you know, it does feel like a very special project for us, and the fact that we're telling our story. And it is quite nice because it's almost like, you know, we really love telling a story through our dancing. I think that's very important. Sometimes when there's just movement, it can be very confusing for people to understand dance, which for some people it is quite cool to just see, you know, people dancing and moving around, especially for dancers. But for people who love watching Strictly, or for just regular people that like going to the theater, it is nice to put your story out there through movement and to actually be able to chat like yourselves. I found it really difficult to, in the beginning, to actually talk and talk about myself. But as the more that the show goes on, the more that you get used to it, and people love it, you know, which is, and it's something that, you know, it's been great so far, so hopefully we'll do it again.
So I'm really excited to watch it tonight, and I'm sure everyone in the audience will be too. We're going to let you go and get ready and warm up, and we'll catch up with you in the dressing room later on, so thanks very much.
Cool.
Kevin, let's get a little bit more personal.
Okay.
I would love to know a bit more about what it was like for you growing up, and how did you get into your dancing?
So I got into dancing, so I'm told, when I was about 4 years old. I don't really remember my first dance class. Because my parents are dancers. Well, my parents were Latin American dancers. They used to compete and won lots of titles and stuff. So in the ballroom world, my mum and dad were sort of quite well known. And they have a dance school up in Grimsby. And yeah, so I'm told about 4 years old, I just sort of started joining in at the back of class. Like if we couldn't, there wasn't a babysitter or whatever, I'd get taken along, and yeah, I just started joining in, and then I started doing competitions with dancing with my sister. I think when I was about 6 or something, and that was that really. And I was sort of always, as far back as I can remember, I've always been doing dancing. It became a normal part of my day, a normal part of my life. So it was, you know, you'd go to school and have your dinner and go dancing. It was always sort of the norm. Growing up doing it. I think when I was really little, like I just didn't think, like it didn't even occur to me that it was this thing that I was doing, dancing. It was, like I say, it was just really normal and part of the routine. I think as I got a bit older and became a teenager and was going to secondary school, it became a bit more clear that I was like the only guy in the school doing this.
How was that? I mean, really, when you're the only guy in a classroom, in a dance class, but also the only guy at your school doing that. How did you face that? How did you deal with that?
The worst times would be coming into school with like, because I had to put a bit of like tan on for competitions and stuff. So I'd have like an orange neck coming out of my shirt and a white face, and I just looked like an idiot, and I could tell that everyone thought I looked like an idiot. And at first it was all a bit embarrassing, but I sort of had to quickly learn that if I take the mick out of myself, then it sort of takes away anyone's weapons for having a go at me. So I think because I just constantly made fun of myself for doing it, then everyone kind of accepted it, and it wasn't like, oh, who's this loser? I don't think, anyway. If you ask my friends, they probably thought I was a total loser. But in my head, they were all okay with it because I was just taking the mick out of myself. And what I love actually now is that some of my best mates from school, who I'm still really good mates with, back in Grimsby, they sort of still don't care about the whole dancing thing. So like now that things like Strictly Come Dancing has happened, and you know, you get a bit of attention because of Strictly, I can be chatting with them whenever I do see them, whenever I get back up to Grimsby. I'll mention something like, oh yeah, when this happened, and they're like, oh, who's that? And I was like, oh, that's who I was dancing with, the celebrity on Strictly. And they're like, nah, don't watch it, mate, I don't watch it. Which I kind of love a little bit. But yeah, it was alright, it was alright. I didn't get sort of bullied a lot for it or anything like that, because like I say, I used to just take the mick out of myself for it.
And would that be your advice for any other younger boys that might be looking up to you as a bit of inspiration? but they might be finding it a bit tough. What would be your advice to them?
I would say to any young lads doing dancing now, first of all, I think it's starting to get a little bit more just normal and acceptable, and people don't see it quite the same. Maybe because of things like Strictly, people are a bit more interested in it. But yeah, I would just acknowledge it. Just acknowledge the fact, yeah, I'm a dancer, and almost make fun at yourself for it. And then people don't see it as this bad thing. You know, it's just something that you all sort of joke about together, and they'll quickly forget it. I think if kids want to like make fun of someone, if they only want to keep doing it as long as they're having an effect, and it's easy to say just ignore it, but I think if you just acknowledge it and laugh at it as well, then there's kind of nothing to laugh at anymore, and just carry on with it.
And I think being in the industry, it's all about just having fun as well, isn't it? And just being kind of authentic. I think it's quite important.
Yeah. I think having fun with it is one of the most important parts of it. I think sometimes people can get too bogged down in the competition element of it all, and you know, you're having to beat the other couples, and that they want to win trophies or win these things in exams, or you know, whatever it is, they're trying to like achieve something or achieve perfect technique, or which obviously you've got to work on technique and stuff, but I think most people get into something like dancing because it looks fun, and they enjoy it when they're doing it. And I think once you lose that, there's sort of no point in doing it anymore. So I'm really big on that it should be fun all the time, and we shouldn't get too bogged down in trying to make dancing this sort of arty, cultural thing that only elite people can understand. You know, it should be for everyone. Yeah.
Growing up, like you said, your parents were both dancers,
yeah,
and they fully supported your move into becoming a professional dancer. Unfortunately, some families find it really hard to understand why the child might want to go into this crazy world of unpredictability and you know, not knowing where their paycheck's going to come from. So what would you say to parents that were hesitant about having the child do that?
If I could have any advice to parents, I would say just only have a problem with it if they're not enjoying it. Again, it comes back to that. If you see your kid really enjoying something that they're doing, then surely that sort of happiness has to come first. They can always decide to go in a different direction. If it doesn't work out, or if they lose their enjoyment of it, there's always time to decide to go and do something else. But if they really enjoy something, then you know, why not? Why not follow your dreams? I think we're too panicky about, but they're not going to succeed and they're going to end up doing nothing. You know, they're not going to end up doing nothing. They'll find something. Everyone will find something. Yeah. Like my sister actually she's always been a ballroom dancer, and it's quite an interesting one. It's sort of not the same situation, but it's a similar thing. My sister's always been a ballroom dancer, and she stayed in the competition world a lot longer than I did. And she went on to sort of win world titles, and then she got onto Strictly Come Dancing, and she's won Strictly Come Dancing, and she's always been super successful and sort of carried on the tradition of like my mum and dad. But she's always wanted to do musical theatre. It's like ballroom dancing has never really been her first love. She's always wanted to do musical theatre, and I think my mum and dad have always been a little bit worried about, but you don't want to give up your ballroom dancing because you're doing well, and you're doing well down this path and you're successful. Don't leave that successful thing to follow your dreams, you know, because to them it's like, it's just a dream and you might not be successful. But it's something she's always wanted to do, and now she's finally doing it. And actually this year she's not going to be doing Strictly Come Dancing. She's carrying on with her musical theatre. And I think my mum and dad are a little bit panicky about that. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You've got this like really successful thing there in front of you. But knowing my sister as long as I have, like I've never seen her as happy as she is now. So it might be easier for her to carry on down the road she was on, but she's so happy going down this path. And even if it doesn't work out 100% like she wants it to, which I'm hoping it will, just seeing her happy is really worth it.
Beautiful. Beautifully put. Brotherly love, right there.
I'm still mad that she won Strictly though.
So obviously with Strictly comes, you know, a huge profile, and for you and Karen, and how I'd like to know what the craziest gift you've had from a fan.
It's funny you mentioned about gifts. Today, as I arrived in the theatre, I got a letter from some lady who had been to see the show last week and said, oh, I like this bit and I like that bit, and there's a really long letter that she typed up, really nice, and it got me thinking, if you're going to do a tour next year, I think that you'd be the perfect dancers to do a dance to this song by Barry Manilow. And she sent me a CD album of Barry Manilow like just in my dressing room today. Yeah.
And how do you respond to something like that? Do you respond? I mean, how do you take that on board?
I'll probably have a listen to it. I don't know. I mean, we sort of get a lot of letters sent, so we can't really respond to everything. But yeah, I mean, thanks very much for the CD. I'll give it a listen. But that's something that would never have happened a few years ago. Someone just posted me a Barry Manilow CD.
So you've had huge career highlights. What has been the biggest, most successful thing for you out of everything that you've done so far?
Well, I've probably got two for slightly different reasons. Okay, thanks. The first one was when we were dancing with a show called Burn the Floor, and it was in a period where, for me, it was quite a big step because competition dancing was all I knew, and it was like a long tradition of my family doing this, and my sister was doing it, and I decided to quit from the competition world because I just wasn't enjoying it. And I still sort of wanted to be a dancer, but I didn't really know much outside of that world. And then I got involved in this dance company, Burn the Floor, and then the company ended up going to Broadway in New York, and I think opening night on Broadway was quite incredible. I just loved suddenly like not competing against other dancers. I loved being part of a group of dancers and all kind of inspiring each other and reacting off each other, and I just loved the whole feeling of it. And then knowing that the show had gone from quite small roots to suddenly being on Broadway, and there was just a special feeling that night of like we'd all sort of made this together and made it happen. And yeah, I felt like we all performed really well that night as well. We were all on top of our game, and that was a really special night. Success-wise, probably on my first year of Strictly Come Dancing, because it had taken me a while to get onto Strictly. I'd sort of wanted to be a part of it. Karen got it a year before me. I got turned down the first time that I auditioned for it. And I'd actually been turned down a second time. But then they gave me the job last minute when an extra spot opened up. And I say all this in the show actually. But then there was a moment, obviously on my first year, I sort of really wanted to impress because of that. I really wanted to keep my job because I knew I'd sort of scraped onto the show. And I got quite a lot of flack from, and now I'd laugh it off, but at the time it was kind of quite hurtful. One of the newspapers, a well-known newspaper, had been quite keen on having more English dancers on the show, and I was the only English dancer that got a job that year, and it came out with this big article like, oh, we've been asking for more English dancers, is this the best that we can do, this pasty kid from Grimsby? Is this the best that England has to offer? And it was me, and they were making this point of like, England's got nothing but this kid, and it made me feel really bad, and I sort of wanted to prove that I was good enough to be there. But it was playing on my mind quite a bit for about the first 7 weeks, and then on week 8, which is when Strictly goes to Blackpool, I was dancing with Susanna Reid from Good Morning Britain, and we did a Paso Doble, and it just, for whatever reason, it just went really, really well that night, and the audience reacted and everyone stood up. There was this big standing ovation, and so I'm told we broke the what's the word I'm looking for, when the loudness of the room that night.
That's the record of sound.
Decibels or whatever, yeah. yeah, it like because there was so much noise, and I was just stood there, and she was sort of on the floor at the end of the routine. I was stood there with my arms out like this, sweating, and like loads of people in this massive ballroom screaming and shouting and making loads of noise and a big standing ovation. And I thought, I had a second where everything just hit me of like, wow, there's about 12 million people watching this at home, like live right now, and everyone's going nuts. And I felt like that was the first time I'd properly proved myself and gone, yeah, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. Stop having a go at me. I'm doing all right. Yeah, so that was quite a memorable moment.
So Strictly's been a huge part of your career. You've got your own tour now, but I hear that you're now getting into property development. So tell me a little bit more about that. How did you get into it, and what do you like about it?
Yeah, I'm a massive geek for property, property investment and development. So basically, it just came about because I've always been slightly concerned that, like, working as a dancer, I'm not going to be able to do what I'm doing now to the level that I want to do it forever, because at some point my body won't let me do it anymore. And I've always been sort of trying to think ahead into the future of how am I going to earn my money, and before that probably would have been, oh, I'm just going to teach couples like in the competition world, but then I took myself out of the competition world and I was like, oh, what am I going to do after that? And I stumbled on property when I was on tour with Tommy Franzen and in a show called Flash Mob, and he was sort of going through, so he was on the phone going through some notes, and he had pictures of houses, and I was asking him about it, and what are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm just looking after my property portfolio. And he started telling me a little bit about what he does, and you know, investing in properties and helping other people invest in properties. And I just suddenly got really interested in it and started, asking him more and more. And then he sort of guided me towards doing a few courses. And now I'm got my own portfolio of properties and helping other people invest in property as well. And I think all dancers should be, all artists should be looking to something like that, investing their money for the future. So yeah, it's a big passion of mine now.
Amazing. So would you say that you have to be a little bit of a geek to enjoy property?
Well, I probably am a bit of a geek, so I enjoy property. But I mean, it depends. It depends in what capacity you want to get involved in it. Like, you can be completely passive and have other people help you out, like me or Tommy, or but it just so happens that I am a bit of a geek and love doing it.
On the record.
On the record, yeah.
So now it's maybe time to go get ready. What's your process now before the show starts? What do you do to get ready?
Before a show, for a little bit of time, I'll just chill out, maybe listen to some music or like watch a movie or something. And then as we get closer to the half-hour call, I'll be sort of stretching and warming up. Karen will come in and put a bit of makeup on me. It only takes a minute or something to put some makeup on me. Karen will spend hours doing it. But and then at the half-hour call, Robbie Williams goes on really loud on my speaker, and I have to jump about and bounce around the room a bit. Basically, because one, I'm a bit of a geek, but I'm a massive Robbie Williams fan. That's on camera now. I'm a huge Robbie Williams fan. And two, I kind of get really nervous before a show, and like I get a bit stage frighty, so I have to go through this process where my nerves sort of kick in, and I have to sort of almost pretend I'm Robbie Williams for a bit before going on stage, because then I feel confident. It's almost like I just get out of being Kevin and just go on stage like I'm Robbie Williams.
So he's your alter ego.
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, Robbie's my alter ego.
So let's go see how Karen's getting on and how different her process is for getting ready for the show.
Okay.
Okay, so we are here with Karen and Kevin, and Karen is doing Kevin's makeup because he doesn't like to do it himself apparently. And she does such a good job.
Wouldn't know what to do.
Doesn't know how to.
So Karen, I'd really like to find out what it was like for you growing up in New York and how that shaped you really to become the dancer you are today.
Well, it was pretty intense, New York. I started out dancing when I was 8 years old in a public school in the Bronx, and it was pretty much for kids who had difficult backgrounds. And in my case, I didn't speak any English, so I was born in Venezuela, and then I was raised there. So I started out with ballet, contemporary, and then African dance. And you know, living in the Bronx, and I lived in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in Manhattan. You know, we cut and ended up in Queens. So it was pretty rough, kind of going around and still sticking to dance, trying to stick to dance. But it was quite. I loved it because, you know, it took me away from all the things that were going on at home. So, and it gave me an opportunity to express myself, I guess. As funny as that sounds, but for a little girl that's, you know, a foreigner and kind of seeing a new world, it was quite nice to have to go on little adventures. But yeah, so it was great, you know, and that program really helped me to continue and get a scholarship at the Martha Graham School of Contemporary Dance, which I was there for about 10 years. And then that led on to the Fame School. So I mean, it was great, you know, having this program that, you know, that helped push me in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. So you said you lived in Queens.
Yeah.
And you're in New York, which is, for me, I know, is the birthplace of hip hop dance. So did you ever dabble in any other styles of street dance or hip hop dance?
I did some hip hop in when I was at the Fame School, at the Performing Arts High School. We, I mean, I loved it because it was really cool and I loved the beats, and but it didn't fit my body for some reason. Maybe because I've been doing a lot of contemporary dance, and I guess once you find your feeling and what your body is, you know, is used to or adjusts easily to. But I loved it. I loved watching it. I loved watching all the other guys, and everybody would get together after lunch, I remember, and we would go into one of the studios, and all the kids would, you know, they would hold a class. They would assign one of the students to teach a hip hop class, and we would all just watch, eating our sandwiches as they were all learning their routines. And I mean, I quite love it. I just wish I was a bit more hood.
That was it.
I mean, it was, yeah. I mean, it's funny. I took a couple of classes before I did So You Think You Can Dance. I had to take a lot of different classes of different genres, and one of them was hip hop. And I remember first I went wearing just leggings and my sneakers and, you know, just a sports bra, and I felt so completely not like a part of it. I felt like I was a bit too balletic and contemporary, and then literally the next day I wore my sweatpants and my baggy shirt, and I was just, you know, I was in it, and it felt great because, you know, you have to wear, I feel like you have to wear what, you have to be comfortable in what you're wearing in order to kind of get into it, and I loved it. I loved the fact that you were, you know, it's very, it's not, you know, it's not, like, how can I say, it's not snotty or like, you know, it's not pretentious, and, you know, you can really kind of make yourself into a different dancer, and the more that you explore and the more that you put yourself out there. But I loved watching it. I just can't do it as well.
So I've got a question for both of you. What is your most embarrassing moment that you've had, either on stage or on TV?
So Strictly Come Dancing, my first year, it was about the quarterfinals, something like that. I was doing an Argentine tango to Smooth Criminal, and I thought it'd be a really clever idea to, like, you know, an Argentine tango dancer sort of lean in towards each other, the top half of their bodies like that, with their feet sort of behind, and they're leaning in towards each other. I thought it'd be a good idea to do the Michael Jackson lean forward thing. So we got the guys from Thriller, the musical, to come to our rehearsal space and sort of show us how it's done, the whole trick behind it and everything, and with the special boots and everything. And I practiced it and practiced it and practiced it all week until I got used to it, so that I could do it, like, I could almost go like flat to the ground and come back up again. And I thought, like, this is going to be the greatest moment in the history of Strictly Come Dancing, because we're going to lean in towards each other like that. No one's going to see what I've done. And then I thought Susanna can move away, and I'll just go deeper into the lean like that. I'll sort of go down and come back up again. People are going to go nuts. I practiced it and practiced and practiced it all week. It was brilliant. On the day, I must have done it 100 times, out backstage. The only time it went wrong was on the live show, because I couldn't, like, get my boot clipped in properly, because obviously there's a special trick behind it. I got one foot clipped into it, the other foot just wouldn't go in. So when it came to this moment and I was so ready, like it was already behind the music and Susanna's going, what do I do, what do I do? I was like, just go, just go. So she started dancing away, improvising, and I basically stood there on one leg and just leant forward with my other leg in the air, like looking like an absolute idiot. And yeah, I was furious. It was really embarrassing.
Did the producer say anything to you?
They didn't even look at me afterwards.
They're like, oh, we didn't even notice. Yeah, we noticed. He was not very happy after.
No, I was furious after.
Your big moment.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson moment as
I
well.
know, I know. I was so embarrassed. Plus, I've ripped my pants a few times on Strictly. Just gone into a lunge and gone.
I mean, most of my things have been either like the strap of a dress comes off. We were just doing a gig just recently for a charity event, and we had just started. For some reason, I don't know why, I thought about it. I was like, I feel like my strap is gonna come off. For the first time, I mean, Kevin actually put it in for me. He helped me get dressed and whatever. And it's just a top, and then the straps tap in like a bra. And then we start dancing, literally like 15 seconds into the dance, I feel the strap just go pop. And then I'm like, oh my God, and literally it's just like flapping out. So then for the rest of the dance, I'm literally dancing like this. I told Kevin, I was like, Kevin, is my boob out? It's my boob out, it's my boob out. And he's just like, no, I can't see it. So literally I had to dance like this. But other than that, and we had this with this trick that we do at the end that I literally go upside down. But I had to do it. Thank God I have to do it with this hand. But at that moment when things go wrong, you don't want to stop. You think about what's going to stop as you're dancing. You think about, okay, what's the best way that I can get him to either clip it on or just, do I keep going? And if my boob comes out, then it comes out. But I mean, it was a charity for children as well. So it was a bit like uncomfortable. So I just tried to hold on as much as possible. But other than that, I mean, maybe like just recently, actually, maybe a couple of weeks ago, we do one dance that I sit on a chair and the dress got caught on the side of the chair. So as I got up, the chair came with me, and you have to let it go. And obviously you hear a little bit of the people laughing, and you just, when something like that happens, you don't want to come out again because you feel like such an idiot. But I haven't had, it's just little things like that you're like, oh, but nothing crazy has ever happened, and hopefully it won't. Fingers crossed.
It's lucky because you're on TV so much, and with live stuff, anything can happen,
yeah.
Right? So that's lucky. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about you guys. You're married and you work together, and I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but I mean, how do you make that work? How does that work, being colleagues and being married?
I mean, it's like, well, let me answer that, Kevin.
Okay.
I think it's just like, you kind of just, we're just like a regular couple. You go through your ups and downs, but the dancing aspect, the fact that we work together, obviously we take that really seriously because it's something that we both love to do, and we're both very focused on it. So, if we're having a bad day, you still have to get on stage and act like nothing's happened, but you try your best to kind of just make everything work, whether it's a good day or a bad day. And yes, communication has to be there, but it's just one of those things that you kind of we've been doing it since we first met, so we don't know anything else, because it's not like we both did completely different jobs. So we've always worked together, we've always dated, and so it's always been integrated in our relationship. And again, it's just, we're just a normal couple that just happens to work together, but it's just one of those things that we're so used to it, that even when there are bad days or on good days, everything just has to be very normal, even though sometimes you want to go or go, I love you. Or here, let me do your makeup.
Which is looking great, by the way.
Yes.
Great job.
Thanks.
But yeah, you make it work. You make it work. And it's just one of those things that I don't know, it's always something that we've lived with, so yeah.
this is a good example of it right now. Like right now, everything seems to be functioning, and she's doing my makeup before the show, and we're having a nice little chat and everything. She's hated me for most of today.
Woke up on the wrong side of the bed today. But again, it's one of those things that you kind of just you go on with it, and if there's any issues or anything, you talk about it or scream about it. But then, you know, when it comes to doing our show, and you know, you go into it focused, and because, you know, it is something that we're very proud of and we're very focused on.
So you proposed in a really special way. Do you mind telling me a little bit about how that happened and what your process was to propose?
So I proposed to Karen on stage in London. When we were dancing in Burn the Floor together, and basically it was Karen's birthday, and so I knew there was going to be sort of friends and family in to watch Karen on her birthday, and we were all going to be going for a drink afterwards. And what I did was I arranged with the director of the show to fake like a charity event. So in rehearsals he was in on it, and he like rehearsed us all. Like normally we'd party to the back of the stage at the end of the show, and the curtain would come in. But he said, right, the curtain's going to stay up, and you'll all be partying, and then we're going to do this charity announcement. We've been raising money on the ticket sales for a certain charity. We're going to bring on one of those big checks that they bring on for charity events. We're going to make the announcement, we've raised X amount of money, and we'll turn it around to, and we said Karen, because Karen was on Strictly at the time and I wasn't on Strictly yet, so we said, well, we'll turn it around, Karen can read out how much money we've raised. So everyone was sort of ready for that. No one knew any different, apart from my mate who had the ring in his pocket. And he sort of, at the end of the show, I grabbed the mic off the singer. My mate came on, gave me the ring, and brought on this big white, what was supposed to be a check, but it was actually just a massive sign saying, "Karen, will you marry me?" So, so all the audience could see it, so all the audience started going nuts. And everyone behind me was going, "What's going on?" And then I turned it round to Karen, and Karen sort of started crying, and all the cast of Burn the Floor just went bananas. Yeah, and then got down on one knee and asked her to marry me, and which could have gone horribly wrong, like in front of a packed theatre.
No pressure, no pressure.
But I was going wrong throughout the whole show because I was really nervous. So I was messing up the choreography, I was dancing like terribly. She was getting cross with me throughout the show because we had friends and family and it was her birthday, and she was going, "What are you doing? What's wrong with you tonight? And why are you doing this on my birthday?" And like she was getting all cross with me. So I nearly didn't do it.
Last question. So, Karen, I've already asked Kevin this, but what's been your weirdest, craziest gift you've had from a lovely fan that you can remember?
There's been so many. Oh, yes, there was one picture. Somebody painted a picture. There's been plenty of pictures that have been painted, but there was this one particular one. I was like, oh my god.
Didn't look anything like
it. Just didn't look anything. And my legs were, I mean, I don't already like my legs, and then when I saw this, I was like, oh my god, that's how my legs look. But it was all like my feet were all pigeon-toed, and it just didn't look like me. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh my god, but thank you. I get a lot of chocolate though. So, I mean, that's the positive thing. The good things are that I get a lot of chocolate and all the lovely things, like for the dog and whatever. But, yeah, that definitely sticks out, that one picture that just was a bit like, not me. Literally, it was like, it was like, I'm sorry, I loved it. I still have it.
Okay, we're going to leave you and let you get all your face on and look just as beautiful as you are now, but even more thanks to Karen. So we'll catch you later on and have a great show and hope it goes really well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, what an amazing show. The atmosphere was absolutely electric and Kevin and Karen just were off the charts. Absolutely amazing. If you want to catch Kevin and Karen, you can do so on BBC Strictly Come Dancing on the next season, which is coming really, really soon.
Our singer.
Oh! Hi! Very nice to meet you.
Whenever you're ready.
Hi and welcome.
It's only messing about.
The night.
Got a nip hole. Sorry, I'm gonna cough. Sorry, I'll start again. I just had a real tickle.
It's like no wings. Staircase.
So I mean, this is the wing.
It's so funny. Imagine you're just trying to be just trying to come out. Yep. Here.
Wow, what an incredible show. The show was incredible and everything was incredible and I don't know what I'm saying anymore.